Hi there, we're back. We're still at the Westport Library. We have authors coming in and out all day, as you may, hopefully you've seen. Right now we're with Carole Schweid.
Thank you.
Schweid,
hello.
You're on.
I'm so happy to be here.
And Carole is, I'm going to let Carole speak for herself. She's directed over 100 stage readings and short plays, and she's written this lovely book, Stage Reading Magic, for your inner actress, your inner presenter, your inner public speaker. And if you need a quick primer on having to make give a quick talk to anybody about anything, this is a book to pick up. Carole's background is incredibly interesting. I'm going to let her tell us all about it.
Oh, okay.
And tell us about Play With Your Food in Westport, and also the other things, as Carole said when we first started, she's a Broadway hoofer. So tell us about Broadway. Tell us.
Well, I had the good fortune of starting out my life as a performer, as a dancer. And the way it turned out was, it's a long time ago, but a lot of work back in the 80s and the 70s, before the British invasion and Phantom of the Opera. Before that, all the Broadway directors were choreographers. Bob Fosse, Michael Bennett, Gower Champion, they were choreographers. So I came into the business in a big way when all of this work was going on. So I got my first Broadway show, which was a show called Minnie's Boys, which was an absolute heartbreaker because it was about the Marx Brothers and their mother, who was played by Shelley Winters.
Okay.
And it was an almost hit. It was a heartbreaker because it was the first Broadway show for almost all of us. And we didn't quite make it. So I started out, and then I would work off Broadway. I'd go out of town for 6 months to do a play, come back. And then 5 years later, Michael Bennett was casting this little known thing called The Chorus Line. And somebody left in the middle of a workshop. And the first workshop, and I had auditioned for Michael for another show a year and a half before. Somebody brought up my name because they needed to replace this person who was leaving this workshop. They hadn't moved even to the stage off Broadway yet, but it was in the workshop process. And somebody brought up my name, and Michael, because I was doing Fiddler on the Roof at a dinner theater in New Jersey with one of the guys who was working on the show.
What role did you play?
I was playing in Fiddler? Seidel, of course, the eldest.
Okay.
Indeed. So he brings up my name, and Michael says, Carole Schweid, wait a minute, I know her. Can she dance? And I like, could I dance? So I sort of fell into it. So I ended up taking over this part. And it was a small part. It was one of the characters that got cut out after the first 10 minutes. And we covered all the parts, and we sang we sang off stage. And so that's how I sort of ended up being part of a chorus line.
How exciting.
Being part of an original cast for an event like that is really quite something. Because
Did it go on the road? Did you take it on the road?
I stayed on Broadway. Well, the next time I took over the part of Morales, so I was the second Jewish Puerto Rican. That was my taking. But I only went out on the road with it one summer. I had become a mother by then, and sort of had to prove to myself that I can be a mother and an actress at the same time.
Can you do that?
No.
Well,
Sure you can. You just don't get any sleep. So I went on the road for a summer stock version, and we went out to, and Donna McKechnie was on that tour, and who was the original Cassie, the one in red, who won the Tony for the show. It was a wonderful thing.
You can tell that it brings back such
memories.
And you love what you do.
How can you not?
You love what you do. Let me ask you, how do you stay in shape now?
I'm not in shape now.
Well, you look in shape.
I walk a lot.
You walk a lot?
I walk a lot like mad, and I sometimes take class, but boy, I'll tell you, when you stop, every time you stop, it's harder to get back.
So you don't do like Pilates or some of this?
I go to the gym, and I walk on the treadmill, and I do this and that. And sometimes I take class. And I choreograph a musical every year.
Really?
I have a friend who works over at Greens Farms Academy. And he's a wonderful theater guy, but I know more about musicals than he does. So I come in and I stage and I work with the kids, and that's actually the best thing. Because to try to keep up with a bunch of high school kids is no easy trick. So that keeps me in shape.
So we come back to this, which is staged reading magic. And the secondary title is A Play Producer's Quick Guide for Turning a Free Stage Reading into a Hot Theater Ticket. Okay, I love that. So tell us, why do we need this book, and
Okay.
why do we need it now?
I'll tell you where this came from. We started a theater series here in town, a lunchtime theater series, 15 years ago. It was like, gee, if we served lunch first and then put on one-act plays, do you think anybody would come? And 15 years later, we're still doing it. We started with one show in Westport every month. Now we do 3 in a row, pretty much sell them out. Then we do the next month 3 in a row. Then we do 2 days in Greenwich, and then we do a day in Fairfield at the Fairfield Theater Company. So it's, aside from a couple of one-offs here and there at assorted libraries and events, and what it is it's a way of putting on a play without a lot of rehearsal, without a lot of costumes, with no scenery, and actors carrying scripts. So you have essentially only the play, the actor, and your own
The words.
creativity is
Wow.
what you have. So part of what we do is, first of all, we find plays that really work, that you don't need scenery, we don't have actors playing animals. We don't have it abstract. We try to keep a very relatable relationships so people can understand what's going on. And we started this, and it has really caught on because, first of all, I love the plays. I always love the plays. I'd come in from New Jersey, take dance class with Luigi. You know, Luigi, the best jazz teacher ever.
Is he
And all the
local?
Broadway, he was in New York. I was from New Jersey, and he was in New York, and all the Broadway dancers would come, and they'd come in with their eyelashes, you know, and there I was, like 16 years old from Jersey. But then there would be bookstores on the way back to Port Authority. And I'd sit on the floor of the bookstores and I'd read. I'd read the plays. I just loved the plays. So what I look for when I'm picking plays for Play With Your Food is really good writing, a quick play that's going to grab people. We find these little gems that are so, they go very deep, very fast.
So give us an example.
There's a play called An Upset. It's written by David Auburn, who is a Pulitzer Prize winning playwright for Proof, I think is the play. There's also short plays by, Wendy Wasserstein's written short plays. These Pulitzer Prize winning playwrights, including Arthur Miller, have written really good one-acts that nobody sees because you just don't see them that often. So we found a way to highlight. We usually do 3, and we usually start it with a comedy, then we put something really serious in the middle, and then we end it with a comedy so that people get like a real sandwich of theater.
That sounds great.
So this play, An Upset, okay? It's 2 actors, 2 men. One's a little younger and one's a little older. One is on his way up in his career, and one is on his way down in his career. And the one that's coming down is getting older. He's kind of a John McEnroe type. And this young guy is a young upstart. First scene, it's a 3-scene play, it's 20 minutes. And then they meet kind of in the middle where they're more like, and then this one's kind of taking off, and this one's kind of about ready to retire, but he's got his last licks in. And you see this relationship between these 2 guys, and the writing, it's just, I don't know, it just kills you. It's fabulous. And then there's all these writers who are not, and in New York based, who are writing for television now. They're writing Orange is the New Black. They're writing Scandal. They're writing, and a lot of them have written plays. So I track down these plays, and we put them on, and they are killer good. That's what I do.
And so in this book, you wrote this book because why?
This is a book, kind of an outgrowth of this, of our series, but it's not about the luncheon, it's not about all that stuff. It's really about these stage readings and how you do them well. How you make sure there's enough light. How you make sure
So
that...
if you're producing,
you want to number the pages. You want to pick plays people will understand. You want to cast actors who don't put the script right in front of their faces. You want to work, and also there's a whole thing about we can't act like this because nobody will see it. You have to find ways to stay open to the crowd and still relate to each other
breathe.
so that the relationships are alive and real. And then you get into, okay, you're doing a 2-hour play and you have 1-hour rehearsal. What do you do? Well, there's something about this play that speaks to you. that you're going to try to bring out. You can't bring out everything in a reading. You can only touch on, so you want to pull out the stuff that really grabs you.
And that is organic. That happens as you're doing the reading.
Well, and as you're working with actors, like you might read through the play, and as you go through things that you think are important, you'll say, make sure you get the plot point across. Make sure you get that, I think that's a joke. I think you could land that a little strong. So you make it, you try to figure out ways for each play to make it really work. I mean, around here, nobody needs any of this, really. I mean, because we work with such professionals, and I watch them, I watch what they do, and that's how I learned all this stuff. But if you're living somewhere where you've got actors who aren't as skilled at this is what I've learned, and you can get it from this book.
Sounds like you want to take this on the road?
Maybe.
Sounds great.
I
want to do the next one, for sure. Thanks, Carole. It was so great having you.
Oh my God, thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
I can talk. Boy, can I talk
You
about
can.
this.